Hi, my friends. It's the Iron Underneath. How are you? I wanted to bring you a quick video today. I woke up thinking about this video and this theory, and I'd done it before with Mythos of Ice and Fire, and since Lady Mythos has disappeared, which is really sad, and we hope she comes back, she took her channel down, and she also took all the videos down that we did together. So I wanted to bring this one theory back to you, and so that you could, excuse the smoke, so that you could hear this. It's really quite a theory, and I just think it's wonderful. So I'm just going to jump right into it. It's got to do with a lot to do with guest right. And we all know, I think, what guest right is, but quickly, it's when, well, we all know about this because of Walder Frey, so I don't think I need to explain it, but if you, the Lord, sit above everybody else on a high dais with an unsheathed sword across your lap, that is denying guest right to the people that you're receiving. And that's also saying that I will not provide you military protection during wartime. So if guest right is observed, then the host will offer bread, salt, food, and ale. So a good example of that, of course, is Walder Frey, who hosted the Red Wedding and killed Robb and Catelyn Stark and a lot of Robb's bannermen. And after he had given them guest right, given them food and drink in his home, then he killed them all, and that is a huge affront to the gods. Now, this has more to do with First Men law than Andal law, but in this theory, they come together. So it's really interesting. So here we go. Where should I start? At the beginning of a Game of Thrones, when the three Night's Watchmen are running from the others, and it's Sir Waymar Royce and Garrett and Will, and they come across the others. They try to fight them, and I believe it's Will that runs. So Will gets down to Winterfell, and he is scared to death, trying to tell Ned that the others have come and they've attacked, and Ned doesn't believe him. So as Warden of the North and Lord of Winterfell, he has to deal with Will as a deserter of the Night's Watch. He who gives the sentence swings the sword. That's Ned Stark's thing. So when he beheads Will at Winterfell, he uses ice to do it. So he goes to the Winterfell Godswood and washes off ice in the lake next to the weirwoods. That right there feeds the weirwoods and gives blood sacrifice. So the North has already, most likely, the magic has been activated already because of all the battles of Robert's Rebellion. Robert's Rebellion is really where it all starts. So, but I just wanted to mention that feeding of the weirwoods in that instance, I think, was a big deal. Also, Catelyn came and told Ned about a lot of things that shouldn't maybe have been overheard by Bloodraven at that time. But they were. So, on to Robert's Rebellion. During Robert's Rebellion, there were quite a few battles. And as we know, Robert won a few of them. He actually won 3 wars in one day, 3 battles in one day. And that was at Summerhall, I believe. And then he did kill Rhaegar Targaryen on the Trident, sadly, on what's now called the Ruby Ford, because Rhaegar's rubies flew everywhere when Robert hit him with his warhammer, and on Rhaegar's breastplate was rubies. And so Ned Stark rides up when Rhaegar's just fallen, and he sees Robert deliver the final blow. So Ned rides up on a lot of things, and it's just so odd to me that he rides up on these major events or blacks out a lot. And I'm not quite sure why. I think it has to do with Bloodraven, most likely, but I'm really not sure why. But this might have something to do with it. So, if you think about all these battles, especially the Battle of the Bells in Stony Sept, when John Cunnington was holding Stony Sept and looking for Robert Baratheon because he was hiding, he was wounded. John Cunnington and his Targaryen men were searching everywhere and could not find him. So Ned Stark won that battle. He also won quite a few other battles. Now, one was won by Jon Arryn, but there were about 6 battles during that rebellion. He lifted the siege of Storm's End, which is where Stannis was garrisoned up holding Storm's End for Robert. And as we all know, Stannis famously always says, "My brother forgot me, and we were eating our horses, our dogs, our cats, the rats, and about to eat each other until Davos Seaworth came with his onions and fed them. Otherwise, they all would have died and eaten each other." So Ned Stark, and he always says, "The Honorable Ned Stark came to get me instead of my own brother." After Ned lifted the siege of Storm's End, the lords who were keeping Stannis in Storm's End knelt. They knelt to the usurper, but Robert wasn't there. It was Ned that they knelt to. And that, take it as you will, but to me, that means they knelt to Ned. They simply knelt to Ned, not to Robert. Even though this was Robert's rebellion, I think it matters who was, and it's in the text. So I'll give you a couple of quotes here to back up my point. By the way, before I do this, I want to say that I don't really know where this theory came from, but I think it is so cool. And Mythos of Ice and Fire and I did the video on it, but I don't know where this theory came from. So if you might have written this theory, I would love more than anything to know that, because I don't ever want to do a video of a theory when I don't know who to give the credit to if it's not mine. And some of this is mine, some of it came from the video that we did together. So I just want to put that out there, that all of this isn't my theory. Tywin sacks the city. Jaime kills the king. Well, he saves the city by killing the king, who wanted to burn them all, burn them all, burn them all. Now, this has to do with guest right, like I said. So when Ned rode up into the throne room, he bursts in, and who is sitting on the Iron Throne but Jaime Lannister? And he has an unsheathed sword across his lap. But when Ned rode in, he said, "What are you doing?" Kind of thing. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but he said basically, "What are you doing on the throne?" And he said, "Oh, I'm keeping it warm for Robert." Haha. And Ned said, "Well, get up and get off the throne." And Jaime did. When he did get up off the throne, he took the sword off of his knees and sheathed it. That is now reinstating guest right. And here is a quote from A Game of Thrones when this happens. I find this unbelievably fascinating. This is George's writing. Jaime climbed the Iron Throne and seated himself with his sword across his knees to see who would come to claim the kingdom. As it happened, it had been Eddard Stark. So George is almost saying right there that who came to claim the kingdom? Eddard Stark did, not Robert Baratheon. Ned Stark. Right here in black and white. So, under First Men law, under magical law, under the laws of gods and men, this throne was Ned Stark's throne. Now, he didn't sit the throne. He didn't take the throne as king. But if you look at it from a magical standpoint and a guest right standpoint, it was his throne. So, after that, Ned leaves. Life goes on. Robert rules with Jon Arryn. And in the last few videos I've done about Yeti, the Golden Empire, or the Great Empire of the Dawn, and the God Emperors of the Great Empire of the Dawn, the reason that things start to go bad and the others come and the long night comes is because men start behaving in a way where they're committing sin after sin after sin. We went over this in my Bloodstone Emperor video, where the men on the other side of the 5 forts were committing murder, incest, gluttony, coveting people's wives, lands, wealth, committing sin. And committing gluttony was a big one. Now, all Robert Baratheon did is all of these things. He cheated on his wife, no matter how horrible she was, and no matter what she was doing. He cheated on his queen, his wife, Cersei. Then, he was a gluttonous man. He really didn't seem to care about being king. Jon Arryn pretty much ran the kingdom. The thing is, in the books and the show, we never once see Robert Baratheon on the throne. Not once. He talks about it. He talks about, when he gets to Winterfell, he talks to Ned about how his ass is sore because he has to sit there all day and listen to these people whine about this and that and the other thing. And that's what a king does. But Robert is complaining about it. He would rather be out whoring and drinking. And he's fat, and he's gluttonous, and he's lustful. These are all the things that caused the long night before. So, among other things, but that's a big part of it. Like the other side of the 5 forts, it says in the World of Ice and Fire, is the Lion of Night and his demons. Also, bloodless men, wild men, same exact thing as what's on the other side of the wall in Westeros. Wildlings, bloodless men like Cold Hands, and whites like the Lion of Night and his demons. So, when you look at it from that standpoint, it seems like man's behavior is what causes the long night, or what makes the others come. So, after Robert came to Winterfell, there's another instance of guest right, where the Lannisters came with him, of course. Jaime and Cersei and the Hound all come to Winterfell. They all take part in food and drink from the Starks. Jaime pushes Bran out the window after he saw Jaime and Cersei together. Now, that's a huge affront because he's been offered protection in Winterfell from Ned Stark. And he just broke guest right by pushing Bran out the window of his own home. Then, not only that, but the Hound runs down the butcher's boy. The Hound was also a guest at Winterfell. So, there's a lot of affronts now that Jaime is racking up here with the Starks. The Hound, or Sandor Clegane, he's paying his dues on the Quiet Isle. He's paid his dues. He has suffered, and he's suffered greatly, and he's reformed himself now with Elder Brother and Septon Maribald. And the reason that they're able to do that has something to do with this too. So when Robert comes to Winterfell, he and Ned go riding one morning. And I said this in one of our videos that Mythos and I did when we were talking about the Barrowlands and the Barrow Kings. Robert and Ned go riding, and they end up in the Barrowlands. And Robert says, "Seven hells, Ned, have you brought me to a graveyard?" And Ned says, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. These are where the Barrow Kings are buried. And these are the Barrow Mounds. These are where the people of the mounds, well, they're remembering and they're hearing." So what Robert said when he was riding with Ned on the Barrow graves, he threatened to kill Daenerys because she was pregnant. Now, because he didn't want any more Targaryens coming into the world. Now, when he killed Rhaegar, it was not for a throne. It was for Lyanna. It was for the love of Lyanna. But Lyanna didn't love Robert back. She didn't even want to marry Robert because she knew what kind of a man he was. And she didn't want to live a life with a man who was going to cheat on her and treat her badly. So it's kind of like Ned fought. Well, it is. Ned fought for his honor, his family, and the protection of them, and the protection of his people in the north. Robert fought for love. When I hear people talk about Ned Stark as a stupid man because of his honor, we don't call him the great honorable Ned Stark for no reason. He is so honorable that he does not fit into this category of men who are committing sin and who are coveting wealth and power and all of this. He's not that kind of a man. He's more of a man like Mance Rayder. Both of first man blood, both kings in their own right. This is a might makes right sort of scenario. So this is how he was able to gather however many tribes it was that all spoke different languages, all had different cultures, all came together under Mance Rayder because he told them he would lead them into safety, and they and their families. The people, the free folk, followed Mance Rayder. Now, this is a lot of the same kind of feeling that Ned Stark has. He's so honorable that his people know he will protect them and that he will keep his word. As Robert's hand, he was invited into the castle, not just as a guest, but as hand of the king. So he has not only protection under the roof of the castle, but he also has military protection from the King's Guard under guest right law. So when he went to the brothel, Jaime Lannister attacks him and Jory Cassell on their way back. He kills Jory Cassell and he wounds Ned terribly. And that is now the second affront that Jaime has done to Ned and to his family. Jory Cassell is like family. It was really sad. There was one day that Ned Stark sat the throne, the Iron Throne. And that was the day that Robert went boar hunting and was fed a little too much wine by a certain Lannister and got skewered by a wild boar. I think this had something to do with not only Bloodraven, but more than that. So Ned Stark while he was sitting the throne that day, he gave one order. And he gave it to Beric Dondarrion and Thoros of Myr. And Thoros was the Red Priest of R'hllor at that time. Beric Dondarrion, the Lightning Lord, was a bannerman of Ned Stark's. So he gave them an order to go hunt down the Mountain Who Rides, Gregor Clegane, and bring him to justice for his crimes of raping and killing Elia Martell and her children, Rhaegar's children and wife, and every other awful thing he had done since then under the orders of Tywin Lannister. But Ned just wanted Gregor Clegane taken out. That was that. Now, Beric and Thoros took this quest very seriously, and they took off to go complete it. Now Robert dies, and Ned gets taken down to the Black Cells because he has now been accused of being a traitor and trying to usurp the throne from Joffrey, of all people. Because Joffrey was not supposed to inherit that throne because he's not Robert's son. So, and Ned had a letter from the king with his seal that said, I want you to be king, de facto king, in my place, or regent, until Joffrey comes of age. Instead of keeping the deal that they made with Ned, Cersei, and Joffrey, of letting Ned take the Black and go to the Wall, Joffrey beheaded Eddard Stark on the Great Sept of Baelor's steps. Now, the Sept of Baelor, it's an Andal place of worship. It's the Faith of the Seven. It's where the Faith of the Seven are worshipped. It's the grand temple in the kingdom, in the capital of Westeros. Now, Ned Stark's blood has been spilled on the Great Sept of Baelor's steps. Not only that, but Ilyn Payne executed Ned Stark, beheaded Ned Stark with his own sword, ice. Right around that time, the comet came. Right around that time, dragons were born. Daenerys's eggs hatched. And that was from magic as well, from the magic of Mirri Maz Duur. And maybe a little bit of magic from this. Now the Andals are involved, so when the dragons were born, that might have a lot to do with this. Now, it is not only an affront to the first men. Under First Man law, the true king of Westeros was just beheaded with his own ancestral sword, great sword, Valyrian steel sword, on the steps of the Great Sept of Baelor, which is what houses the Faith of the Seven. That's an Andal religion. So now the laws of the Andals come into it too. Now, the laws of gods and men, first men, Andals, and the pact that the first men made with the children of the forest, they have all now been, this is an affront to all of them. So when Ned was beheaded, he was almost like a sacrificial lamb for Westeros. Also, during all of those battles, as we know from these books, when there are battles, the land gets soaked with blood. And that's why the Red Grass Field has its name. Because Bloodraven and Bittersteel, one of the Blackfire rebellions, was fought there. The land is so soaked with blood that it was actually named the Red Grass Field because of that, because of the red blood in the land. That in this world activates magic. The magic was also activated again by Ned washing off that sword in the Godswood at Winterfell. So now, after he's been beheaded, the Brotherhood Without Banners starts during the War of the Five Kings. Now Thoros has lost his faith, yet he's able to bring Beric back 6 times. And after the Red Wedding, Beric and Thoros and the Brotherhood find Lady Catelyn Stark face down, dead, with her throat slit in the trident. And Beric decides to give his last bit of life, his last fire, and give it to her. And now she becomes Lady Stoneheart, the vengeance of the Starks. Now this is the queen. This is Ned Stark's wife. She's the queen of Westeros. She's able now to pass sentences on people who have hurt her family. Actually, Beric was really upset that he wasn't able to finish out carry out his quest, because the mountain was killed by the Red Viper, Oberyn Martell. So after this happens, they kind of are lost, and now they just start singing and drinking and hanging out in the forests. And they really don't run into a real purpose until they find Catelyn. Thoros doesn't approve of it, and he takes off. And Beric and the rest of them follow Catelyn now. Or follow Lady Stoneheart now, I should say. So, the last quote that I want to read you, this to me, it's again right here in black and white. This is from when Ned Stark was sitting on the Iron Throne. What Eddard Stark was doing sitting there he would never comprehend, yet there he sat, and these people looked to him for justice. The hand of justice. There's a lot of justice with the Starks. There's a lot of justice even in the crypts of Winterfell, with the Anubis that's protecting the spirits of the kings of winter, the kings of in the north that are down in the crypts of Winterfell, with unsheathed iron swords across their laps. So, this says, by magic and by first man law and now Andal law, Ned Stark was the true king of Westeros. That's the theory. And I just think it's one of the most amazing theories, because I hear a lot of people say that Ned was weak because he didn't know how to play the game. He was so honorable that he ended up killing his whole family. I don't really believe that. I believe that Ned was actually one of the only people left who had that kind of honor, and who was willing to give up his own life for people that he loved and people that he needed to protect. He even told Varys, "My life is nothing. My children's lives are everything to me. Do you think my life means anything to me?" he said. So, it's a beautiful theory, and it gives another deeper meaning to the life of Eddard Stark. And it also gives another meaning to the Brotherhood Without Banners. So, that's the video. I really want to thank you all for being here and for watching. I want to thank all of my new subscribers. I'm so happy to have you. And we're going to continue to do great videos. Harvey, I've had a lot going on. I am going to reply to your email. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. I cannot wait for your videos. So, it's going to be very cool. So, I just love my subscribers so much. You guys are the best. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. And please leave comments. Unless they're mean, I'll just block you, and it'll just piss me off, so don't do it, please. Otherwise, the rest of you are always so great, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Valam Ragolis, and I'll see you very soon. Have a great day.